Hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Wilmette Public School District 39 this Monday, May 21st, 2018. Will the clerk please call the roll? Here.
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 Here. Here. Here.
Thank you. Dr. Romy De Cristofaro will introduce and honor Special Olympics students with certificates to lead the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Dr. De Cristofaro.
Good evening, everybody. I'll let them walk in. I am extremely honored to have the opportunity to stand up here with our Special Olympic athletes and coaches. Before we lead you through the pledge, I want everyone to introduce themselves.
My name is Cassie.
Cassie.
My name is Katia.
Elise. How many microphones?
Byron.
How many microphones do you see?
Just one.
Science.
Alicia, kid.
My name is Vincent.
Hi, I'm Chris Uller. Her name is Lizzie.
Right, Matthew.
Angus.
Carrie.
And one more. And that is Owen. And I will hand the microphone now to Coach Westendorf.
Hi, everyone. We've been doing this for 4 years, and we just got finished in May with our districts, and some of these great athletes got gold medals, and they'll be on to state in Bloomington, Illinois on June 16th. And Matthew, right here, he is one of our medalists. He had a silver in the 50-yard dash and a bronze in the softball throw. And Owen here, he is our walker. He does the 100-meter walk and the softball throw.
Some of our other athletes, Kiri got a gold in softball throw and the 50-meter run. Wave. All right. Katia over here got a silver in the 100-meter run and the 200-meter run. Linus up front here got a silver in the 50-meter run. Yep. And Vincent to my right got a bronze in the long race, the 400-meter run.
Okay, and over here we have Byron Liu. Byron, I think this was his first event, and he got a gold in the 50-meter run and a bronze in the softball throw. And we have Cassie Wozni. She got a gold in the softball throw and a silver in the 50-meter run. And Lizzie, oh, there she is. Lizzie right over here, Lizzie Nash. She got a gold in the 50-meter run. And Angus, come here, Angus, this is you. This is you, yay. Say, I'm Angus.
I'm Angus.
And Angus got a gold in the 50-meter run. All right.
So Dr. Lechner has certificates for all of our athletes. And we will give them to them after this. But before we lead you through the pledge, we have one more award, and we'd like to recognize Dr. Denise Thrasher, who's retiring at the end of this year with a Special Olympics gold medal. And now will you all please rise for the pledge? 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, athletes. That was wonderful, and congratulations on all of the medals you have earned. Thanks for being with us tonight. Okay. The artwork on display in the boardroom tonight is from Jamie Berngard's Central students. First graders contributed their beautiful self-portrait collages inspired by historic leaders studied in their classrooms. Third graders shared their colorful prehistoric landscapes, highlighting how to create depth using a foreground, middle ground, and background. And fourth graders displayed their awesome self-portrait collages inspired by Roy Lichtenstein. Awesome. Also, I would like to remind everyone here that this is a public meeting and we are among neighbors and fellow residents. Appropriate conduct is expected from everyone. We ask that people speak only when called upon, that everyone treat the others kindly and with proper respect, and please refrain from distracting behaviors such as loud conversations, cheering, clapping, or booing. And as a final note tonight, we had a lightning strike here near the MEC recently, and as a result, some of our media is having a little bit of trouble, and we will wind up editing some of the, or all of the presentations made on screen tonight into the video later. So for those watching on live TV, you will not be able to see the presentations tonight, but you will be able to see them on the playback. Okay, and with that, I seek a motion to approve the minutes for the April 23rd, 2018 regular and executive session meetings and the minutes of the May 14th, 2018 executive session meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the April 23rd, 2018 regular and executive session meetings and the May 14, 2018 executive session meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Do board members have any comments, errors, or omissions for the minutes?
I have one little error.
Yep.
On approving the minutes, Mr. Panzica moved, and it says seconded by Mrs. Schaff, but since I wasn't here, it wasn't me, so somebody else.
All right. On approving the minutes, it would have been Ellen.
Ellen, probably.
Right?
It looks like you did a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
think
seconds,
it probably would
so-
have been
okay.
Ellen. So
Okay.
can we change that to Ellen? Any other errors, omissions, etc.? Good catch on that. Although you're pretty good at your job. Maybe you did it from afar. Great. I think that's a minor enough amendment so that maybe we can approve it tonight anyway. So that being the case, all in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please say yes.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Great. The motion carries by general consent. This brings us to our first opportunity for public comments from the audience to address the board. Are there any audience members that would like to speak at this time? If so, please come forward and you will be recognized. Okay, I don't see any, so we will move on. That brings us to our board reports, and the first board committee report is on the School Finance Committee. Mr. Panzica, I believe you have that report.
Yes. We held the Finance Committee meeting as part of the Committee of the Whole on Monday, May 14th. We discussed a number of items that will be covered in greater detail tonight during the meeting, so I'll just give a quick summary of the topics. We discussed the 2018-19 tentative budgets for District 39 and WICSE. We compared the budget items to last year's budget, but we don't yet have the final numbers for 2017-18, so we don't have a true comparison yet until those final numbers come in. The fiscal year 19 budget will be voted upon at the August 27 Board of Education meeting. We also discussed the transfer of funds between accounts to match the fiscal 19 budget needs. These will also be voted on later this evening. We discussed the Illinois prevailing wage requirement, where Illinois requires government agencies to affirm that they will follow the Illinois Prevailing Wage Act. This will be voted on later tonight also. We discussed how and where we should discuss administrative benefit packages in general. All benefits, once approved, are public records, and everyone agreed that the discussion of specific individuals remains in executive session. We postponed the discussion on PTAB until a future meeting. And finally, we discussed kindergarten enrichment, which will be presented later this evening. The focus in this meeting was on the impact that various options will have on our future budgets and reserves.
Thank you very much. The next committee report is the Strategy Committee. Ms. Schaff.
Yeah, the facilities actually, but I'll give that report too. So the Facilities Development Committee also met on May 14th as a part of the Committee of the Whole here at the MEC. Construction Manager Joe Papanicholas updated the board members on the current status of the High Crest construction project. The larger project is scheduled to begin in early June once school is out, but he relayed that some work has already been done over spring break and some evenings after school's been dismissed. The project is on schedule for the summer. Our architect Colby Lewis apprised the members on next steps for phase 2 at High Crest, which is basically the learning commons. So this would be construction in the summer of 2019. In our original plans, the new learning commons was to be located where the current offices and special ed classrooms are, but at the meeting, Mr. Lewis proposed to leave the classrooms where they are and build the learning commons on the west side of the courtyard. This would also include upgrades to the special education classrooms to include a life skills center. A schematic design should be ready for approval by the end of the school year, and details will be refined over the summer. The next facility meeting is June 11th, 2018 at 8 a.m.
Thank you very much, and I believe you have our next report, the CRC Liaison Report. Thank you.
I do. The CRC met last Monday, May 7th, here at the MEC. They approved the audit report, which will be presented later tonight, and they also worked on finalizing the primary CRC report for this school year. At the meeting, they discussed the executive summary and conclusion, and the various subcommittees brought their sections of the report to discuss. The final report will be presented at the June Board of Education meeting. Also at the meeting, the CRC started preliminary discussion of officers for next year and research topics. Officers will be voted on at the June meeting, and they will continue conversation about the research topic at their June meeting. Their next meeting is Monday, June 4th at 7 p.m. here at the MEC.
Thank you very much for both of those reports. And next up, we have the Education Foundation. I believe Mrs. Schneider-Fades.
The Education Foundation met on May 16th at 7:30 here at the MEC. Foundation Chair Liesl Brown said goodbye to parting members. The GRIP grant report included the foundation awarded over $28,000 in GRIP grants this year. The Harper River Rocks were installed in the Harper Garden, and the 8th grade microscope cameras have been purchased. The Foundation also made a gift to District 39. They had purchased several pedal desks, and they were very successful with the students. These pedal desks give students sensory breaks in classrooms, help support kinetic learning, and physical calming. So the foundation approved 2 pedal desks per homeroom and in the 2 comprehensive needs classrooms at both HMS and WHS as a gift to the district, for a total of 144 desks with a budget of $5,000. Thank you to the foundation for that. For the budget, the foundation this year exceeded its fundraising goals. It ended the year with $113,000 in the bank. At the meeting, they also approved the 2018-19 budget. They approved and welcomed 12 new board members. And for fine arts, the Education Foundation funded frames to install student art with the themes of inspiration, integrity, kindness, and other positive messages in the bathrooms. So the HMS student bathroom art has already been installed, and new art will be created and changed periodically. For fundraising, since the last meeting, they had the end of the year fundraiser, which was the Wilmette pub crawl last Thursday. The pub crawl folks donated a portion of the proceeds to the foundation. And then finally, the board, the meeting ended with thanking Liesl Brown for her services as foundation chair this year, and Linda McKenzie will be the chair for the upcoming year.
Thank you very much. And then our legislative update by Ms. Kearney.
Quincy.
Oh, thank you. The WICSI report.
That's okay. WICSI, we met today, and we discussed the Leadership Advisory Board changes that will be taking place for 2018 and 19 due to the retirement of Denise Thrasher and as well as Gail Buscemi. Denise will be Denise will be replaced by Romy as the, I wrote this all down and then I left my notes at home. I wanted to get the titles correct. The title on the WICSI board is, thank you, the State Approved Director of Special Ed. We will be voting, though, in June. The board will be voting to approve Ellen Crispino as the District 39 WICSI Advisory Board member to replace Gail. We also approved the WICSI fiscal year to date activity through April 2018. The meeting dates for 2018 and 19, and the tentative budget for fiscal year 2019, as well as we approved a public budget hearing. The next meeting of WICSI will be November 12th.
Thank you very much, and I am now working off the proper revised agenda. So I believe the legislative update is now, Ms. Kearney.
It is, and not much to update. I swear I've been doing my job. But as this is an election year and there's still a whole 10 days left before the budget's due, nothing's happened. Bottom line is several pieces of legislation that infringe on local decision-making and increase cuts for school districts are still moving through the General Assembly. In other words, a bunch of unfunded mandates are on the table right now. Again, nothing, some have come out of the House, some have come out of the Senate. They need to go to each, the opposite chambers and then to the governor's desk. Again, all within the next 10 days. As I already noted, we're only 10 days out from when the May 31st budget deadline is due for fiscal year 19. They say while no decisions have been made, there's much more collaboration, deliberation, and discussion this time around than previously. That's it for now. We should have a lot more to say in June.
Okay, thank you very much. And that brings us to our information items. First, written communications, Dr. Lechner.
Yes, the board received written communication from Elizabeth Rosenfeld supporting a kindergarten enrichment program, and from George Lynn Rowland regarding Roland's recent acquisition of Amatech and solicitation for District 39 communications equipment.
Thank you, and why don't you go right into our administrative announcements.
And we're going to begin with student recognition. Ms. Jackson.
All right, I have a lot of students from across our campus and also from Ramona tonight. We're going to be recognizing 3 groups. First, can I have my Science Olympiad students come up to the front and stand kind of over here? The Science Olympiad students have worked hard since the beginning of the year. The team met on Tuesdays after school, and the students worked together to study, practice, and build for their events. The team went to 2 invitational competitions before attending the regional competition and getting 2nd place. They went to the state competition on April 21st and got 12th place in the state. All of the students have been dedicated to the team since day one. They set aside several hours each week outside of team practice to research, review, build, take practice tests, ask questions, and learn. Ms. Morose, who has been our Science Olympiad coach this year, is extremely proud of all of they've accomplished and knows that their passion and perseverance will take them far in life. So we have a little certificate for each of you. Sure. Casey Bertaki. Nikita Dabrowski. Nikita Kovalov. Tai-Young Lee. Sarah Lynn. Shartian Shangwan. Ben Shoemaker. Holly Smith. Sophia Wang. And Tyler Wang. Congratulations to our Science Olympians. All right, next I'd like my math count students to come up to the front. Some of them will be staying up here, right? Science Olympians, you are free to leave. All right. So there were 19 members in our Math Counts Club this year, and our season begins in September and ends in March. After competing in 3 school competitions, the following 10 students earned the right to represent WJHS at the regional Math Counts competition at Oakton Community College on Saturday, February 3rd. It was Yinghui Bimali, Aruni Chenchi, Andrew Cho, Nika Chusoy, Sarah Lynn, Annabelle Ma, Nicholas Sutherland, Tyler Wang, Vincent Zhang, and Claire Zhang. At regionals, our team of Yinghui, Aruni, Andrew, and Annabelle Ma placed first. This is only the second time in the last 7 years that WJHS has placed first at regionals. It's such an exciting and surprising finish. Because of the first place finish, these 4 students, along with our alternate, Nika, attended the state competition in Lisle, Illinois on March 3rd. At state, our students placed 5th. This was the icing on the cake of a long Math Counts season. Thanks to the WJHS PTO for sponsoring Math Counts. We appreciate all your support. To the 7th grade members of the club, we hope they participate in Math Counts in 8th grade. And to our 8th grade members, we wish them well in high school and hope they join the math team. So we have some students again for Math Counts. Sarah Lynn. Roxana Jafari Hadidian. Annabelle Ma, first place winner. And Tyler Wang. All right, a big round of applause for our Math Counts students. And finally, I'd like to recognize our chess competitors. And we have students from Highcrest, from Ramona, and from Wilmette Junior High here this evening. So come on up and bring your giant trophies as well. In November, we had a 4th grade chess team from Ramona take 3rd place, and a 6th grade chess team from HMS take 2nd place in the all-grade state championship for chess. In March, students competed in the largest Illinois K-8 championship held in the last decade. Out of 744 participants, the Highcrest team took 8th place, and Wilmette Junior High took 5th. Also, Keone Osborne went to nationals this year recently and did really well there too. We are so proud of our students' accomplishments working together as a team and determination with chess this year. So we'd like to recognize them for their accomplishments. So first we'll do Benjamin Newman from the all-grade state chess championship. Benjamin's from Ramona, and Aya Yasumoto, also from Ramona, for the all-grade championships. And then and the Ramona team took 3rd place. And then 2nd place at the all-grade state championships were Riley Burge and Keone Osborne. All right, and then from the K-8 state chess, the 8th place team from Ramona, Benjamin Newman. Again, and Aya Yasumoto. His trophies are almost bigger than them. And then from our WJHS team, we have Stan Okeson, Riley Burge, Keone Osborne, and our triple threat this evening, Sarah Lynn. Awesome job. Big round of applause for all of our chess students. All right, thank you to all of our students, and we congratulate you on all of your achievements this year.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to all of you. Thanks for being here tonight. And I believe, Dr. Lechner, that takes us on to our WJHS Assistant Principal.
First, we need to congratulate Doug Wilmette, who accepted a principal position in Tinley Park. And next, we needed to find his replacement. After a thorough search, we are recommending Jeff Dees as the new 7th grade GLAD at Wilmette Junior High School. Jeff taught social studies from 2006 to 2012, first at St. Mary's in Lake Forest and then at Loyola Academy in our neighborhood. In 2012, Jeff was promoted to department chair at Loyola Academy. He earned his bachelor's degree from Northwestern University, a master's in education from John Carroll University in Ohio. Finally, he earned an administrative endorsement through DePaul University. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Lechner and the board for having me this evening. It's a humbling honor to be welcomed in the district. I know it's a wonderful district with their academic quality and their amazing talents from math and chess and all these various activities. I'm humbled and honored to join the team as assistant principal and 7th grade GLAD at WJHS. I'm very excited to join the team next year. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, and welcome.
And next, we are announcing our administrator salary increases for 2018-19. Administrator salaries are always indexed to the CPI. For fiscal year 19, recommended salaries are CPI plus 0.9%. However, with recent retirements, aggregate administrator salaries have actually decreased by 3.4%. And then lastly, we have an update for the superintendent search. Lisa Fabes has this.
So the board has contracted to work with School Exec Connect on the search for our next superintendent. We had a successful planning meeting with them last week. The search process will begin in earnest after school opens in September. We will survey parents and staff and conduct 8 focus groups to help develop a profile that will be shared at the October board meeting. Following that, a stakeholders committee of parents, staff, and community members will be formed to participate in the 2nd round of candidate interviews. Our plan is to announce the final selection at the December or January board meeting. We will be sending out a press release with this update tomorrow and post it on our district homepage. The District 39 website will always have the most current information on the search, and will be updated as new information is available.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have strategic plan updates and the CRC Audit Report.
Yes, this is the first half of the annual CRC report. I'd like to welcome the CRC President, Dr. Meg Katerman, to the podium for tonight's report.
Hi, everybody. I would actually like to introduce Erin Stone, who is the CRC past president and who basically was the audit committee this year, and she is going to present the audit report.
Good evening. When CRC audited itself 2 years ago, it recommended adopting a cycle where all future CRCs audit the report that was produced 3 years earlier to assess its impact in District 39. This year, I undertook this task, and I will confess that I have thoroughly enjoyed doing so. Some people might not find these audits very exciting, but I actually love this stuff, and you will see later in the report, it's not without its perks. The report audited this year is the 2013-2014 report, Developing a 21st Century Learning Infrastructure. The recommendations included in that report involve the construction and support of learning commons, the integration of technology into schools, and practices associated with mobile learning devices. And I would like to give a huge shout out and kudos to current board member Lisa Schneider-Fabes, who was the CRC president of that group that produced this hugely impactful report. I was having a conversation with somebody last summer, and she asked me, this person asked me, why do you like CRC so much? And I said, because the recommendations end up happening in affecting kids. And the example I always use is the CRC recommended that we build learning commons, and now we have learning commons. There were 13 recommendations in this report, in the 2013-14 report, and they are all included in the written audit report that is attached to the board materials for tonight, and I'm going to refer people to that report for the complete version. But tonight I will be presenting more of a greatest hits approach and focusing on what I would argue are the 3 most impactful recommendations from that report and what has happened in the district as a result of those recommendations. So one recommendation from the 2013-14 report was create a state-of-the-art learning commons at Central School that will act as a prototype for District 39. Explore similar opportunities for other schools in the district to be implemented in the near future. And as I think we all know, this has happened. Central was first, and all other schools have followed, with the exception of Highcrest. And as we heard earlier tonight, there are plans in the works for a learning commons to be built at Highcrest. Second, the district has learned from each experience, and every time it built another learning commons, it became more efficient as it went along. One example that Dr. Lechner told me when I interviewed him was that Central's learning commons has a green screen room, but the other schools do not, because the district learned that they don't need a whole room for that. They could just have a green wall or a green cloth and achieve the same effect. Third, the effect of building these learning commons is that District 39 has become a local and national leader in the area of 21st century learning spaces. As of February of this year, at least 37 different schools have toured the Central Learning Commons. Some have come back for more than one bite at the apple. And District 39 staff have presented on this topic at numerous conferences and have also had an article on the subject published in a national library journal. When I interviewed Dr. Lechner, he said that the district's expectations have been exceeded with respect to the learning commons. We're about to come to my favorite part of the report. You will now see the 4 C's of 21st century learning: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity in action. Here come the kids. Okay, so the one on the left is the Central Learning Commons. This is a poetry slam that has happened in just the past couple weeks. The picture on the right is at Ramona, and there was a Lego luge activity that these girls created around the same time as the Winter Olympics. The picture on the left, there is a girl enjoying a cozy nook at the opening of the Mackenzie Learning Commons, and some guy in the background photobombed this picture. The picture on the right is at Wilmette Junior High, and what I like about this picture is that even though they're in a 21st century space, they are using the ancient supplies of paper and pencils to do their work. Here's where the perks I referred to earlier come in. So the picture on the left is also at the junior high, and I chose this picture because I liked the glass little workroom that's shown there and how these girls are using technology. And when I actually went and zoomed in on the picture, I realized the girl on the left is my daughter. And I have it on good authority from her that they are working on a social studies project here, and they were working on their iPads and AirPlay up to the screen to prepare their presentation. And on the right, we have more Olympic-themed activities. These are kids at Harper that created ice rinks out of, I believe that is masking tape on the ground, and have robots ice skating in them. The girl on the left is a Highcrest student, even though Highcrest does not have a Learning Commons yet. I have been told that the Highcrest is trying to create a culture of Learning Commons-esque activities so that when they do get theirs, they can hit the ground running. And she is interacting with a piece of artwork. They're using the green screen. And finally, here's this little guy at Ramona is doing another Olympic event. This is the biathlon. I think I need like 3 hands to do all this. Okay. The second recommendation we want to focus on from the 2013-2014 report was to develop grade-level content standards and related curriculum. In addition to or as part of a district technology planning effort, the CRC recommends that District 39 provide clearer guidance and recommendations on what students should know and be able to do with and within technology by grade level. The technology and library curricula were reviewed and updated, I believe, for the first time. And this review allowed the district to stay current and to be flexible to adapt to changes in these areas. ISBE, the Illinois State Board of Education, does not have library or technology standards, but District 39 aligned its library standards to the Association of Illinois School Library Educators, or ISLE, and it aligned its technology standards to the International Society for Technology in Education, or ISTE. And it purposely left its curriculum standards very broad in the area of technology because things in this field change so quickly. And in the process of developing a digital citizenship curriculum, D39 collaborated with other school districts in New Trier Township because the goal was to get all of these feeder districts on the same page. Finally, the technology and library department was revamped with the goal of creating a more efficient staffing model. We now have a director of technology and media services who is someone who oversees everything related to technology and libraries. There are technicians in every school, all of whom are IT professionals, and this allows staff members to have immediate access to technology experts when they need them. There is a librarian in every school. The K-4 teachers also have a technology teacher who not only sees classes, but who also has flexible time in which that person helps teachers infuse technology into their own instruction. Grades 5 through 8 have tech coaches who help teachers integrate technology into their classrooms and lessons. And every Learning Commons has a library parapro as well. Our final greatest hit from that report is that the CRC recommends that innovation and the best practices of technology implementation and integration should be supported, encouraged, and recognized. The district hired consultants to employ student-centered ideas both before and after implementation, placing a priority on adopting innovative and best practices. And when the curriculum was developed, any technology and library staff member who wanted to go to an Illinois Computing Educators Conference got sent. And this coming summer, next month, every D39 technology and librarian except the person who's retiring, will be going to the ISTE conference that is in Chicago this June. Attendance at these conferences keeps the district up to date on areas of innovation and best practice. And finally, Highcrest and Wilmette Junior High have been both recognized as Apple Distinguished Schools. This shows the district has been recognized for integrating best practices, and other schools have looked to the D39 as an example of what best practices look like in action. Those are our greatest hits. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the board? I have one question,
Yes.
which is, were there any recommendations that you felt like we had maybe underutilized in the subsequent time period?
I didn't, and I think that's one of the purposes of doing the audit. There were a couple that the district didn't adopt per se, but the district's contention was that the spirit of the recommendation had been adopted. One had to do with, I think, realigning staff and hiring a, I can't remember what the title was, but hiring somebody who was going to be, let me find it here. I can't, there was.
That's okay,
yeah, it
but
doesn't
you
matter,
didn't feel like there were big missed opportunities?
No.
Okay.
I think everything was, not everything was adopted exactly, but almost everything was, and the things that weren't were close, or the essence of it was being covered.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So, thank you for doing this. I think it's a great idea to audit a report like this. But I'm curious, should we do another audit in a few years? Because it seems like this is an awfully important topic, and it's going to be something that we continue to develop.
Do you mean having the CRC keep auditing its reports that are 3 years old, or do you mean this topic specifically?
That's really a question for you and probably for Ray as well.
Yeah, I can answer that one. Actually, the CRC has a history of repeat, going back and re-looking at topics. Like foreign language was one of those examples, kindergarten enrichment was one, gender, right. So this too will be one that gets revisited for sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Schneider-Faith.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. This was your
that
baby.
I know single-handedly doing the audit was a lot of work. It also made me smile, so thank you.
You get to put your own kid in the report when, you know, I didn't intend that. I swear I didn't.
Ms. Chef?
Yes, so I just wanted to say, Erin, thank you very much for your report. I liked your top 3 hits and the way you presented that. I want to thank Lisa, too, for leading the effort, because it really was at a time where we really needed some direction in this area. The only other top hit in my mind was your recommendation for the district to develop a strategic plan, which we did shortly after the CRC report. And that was really important because it helped us understand not only using technology, but why we were using technology and how it would enhance education. So it helped us get our head around really where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do. So I thought that was an important part of the report also. But thank you very much. It was
And my understanding is that almost everything that was in that strategic plan from December 2015, that the district has pretty much checked almost everything off.
Yeah, and that's another way we can audit going forward. To John's question, is we just review our strategic plan and build on that.
Any other comments or thoughts? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and that brings us to kindergarten enrichment.
Yes, this is an ongoing review that we continue. This month we've added some additional data charts and some new survey results. There seems to be ongoing support and interest in kindergarten enrichment as an option for parents. Gail Buscemi and Katie Lee have this report.
Good evening. Thanks, Tony. So last month, the administration presented space and funding options at the Committee of the Whole meeting on April 9th, 2018, and also during the April 23rd Board of Education meeting. During both meetings, the potential impact and fund balances for each space and funding option was reviewed and shared. The administration's next step was to use the report information to gather more input and feedback from families regarding a fee-based kindergarten enrichment program. So as you can see, our administrators have joined us for questions later. But tonight, Gail will begin with sharing additional information about the fund balance.
Here in our first chart is a cost-neutral option to build classrooms and charge parents a $6,500 fee to cover all costs for a kindergarten enrichment program. It's important to note that in fiscal year 23, the gap between the red and the blue lines begins to narrow when the red line meets the 30% threshold in fiscal year 23. After fiscal year 23, the gap between the lines will narrow further as construction costs are recovered. And this is built on a 10-year payback for construction costs. In this chart, what I tried to do is reflect the district paying for construction and parents pay the program cost of $41.45. By fiscal year 22, the fund balance begins to dip below the 30% threshold and will continue to decline more rapidly. In our next chart is a second option, which was to purchase modular units. One advantage is the modulars could be ready 1 year earlier than construction. Here the option is to keep the program cost neutral and charge parents $53.25 in fees to cover all costs for the program. In this case, there is a 5-year payback on construction costs. The red line closely follows the blue line, except for the decline in fund balance in fiscal year 19 and 20 for construction, but it increases in future years as construction costs are recovered. In this case, there is some flexibility for the district to determine the tuition rate on a year-to-year basis. This last chart also reflects the cost of modular classrooms at each elementary school, but the district pays for construction costs. Parents are charged tuition or fees at $41.45 to cover program costs only. As you can see, the green line will stay slightly below the blue line due to the program costs being met by parent fees.
Back to me. So the administration conducted 2 surveys to gather information regarding a self-sustaining fee-based kindergarten enrichment program from District 39 families. The first survey was administered in January and the second was administered in early May. So all District 39 families of students in early childhood program and all the elementary schools were asked to participate in both surveys. So when District 39 families clicked on this first survey, they read that the district was exploring the feasibility of offering a sustainable fee-based kindergarten enrichment option. This is a hypothetical what-if style of survey. In other words, if the district were to offer a 5-day-a-week, 176-school-day enrichment program for a fee or tuition of approximately $6,500 in 2020-2021 school year, what would families do? Would they have taken advantage of it, or would they consider utilizing it in the future? The results of the first survey indicated that 444 out of 644 respondents, approximately 68.9%, would participate in the proposed kindergarten enrichment program. And of these respondents who indicated that they would participate, 71.6% have children aged 3 and under, 72.8% have kindergartners currently enrolled, and 68% have first graders currently enrolled. So when District 39 families clicked on this second survey, they read that 70% of the parents were willing to pay $6,500 for a sustainable fee-based kindergarten enrichment program. This is a preference style of survey where the intent is to gather input about choice of 2 options. So option 1, the per pupil fees to build classrooms onto each school continues to be estimated at $6,500 or approximately $37 per day. And option 2, the pure pupil fees to build modular units at each school is estimated at $5,325 or $30 per day. This is under the assumption that construction and program costs would be covered by the fees. So 289 out of 527 of respondents, approximately 54.8%, indicated that they would prefer to have classrooms built and pay the tuition of $6,500. 23.3%, around 123 of the respondents, indicated that they would prefer to have modular units and pay a tuition of $5,325. 16.1%, 85 of the respondents indicated neither as their preference. So one important additional piece of information that was a result of the second survey was that of the 444 respondents who indicated that they would participate in the proposed kindergarten enrichment program, 71.6% have children aged 3 and younger, and that was approximately 318 families. And in the second survey of the 527 respondents of the second survey, 57.1% have children aged 3 or younger, which is approximately 301. So District 39 administration continues to recommend providing a fee-based half-day kindergarten enrichment program for District 39 families, and therefore moving forward with any of the proposed options would take a district step closer to accomplishing that goal. The enrichment offering could be self-sustaining with no or minimal impact on tax dollars. Therefore, the administration recommends a completely cost-neutral option, which would be one of the following options. The pure pupil fees to build classrooms onto each school at $6,500 of the tuition. Or option 2 would be modular units to build modular units at each of the schools with an estimated tuition at $5,325 for fees and tuition. We are happy to answer any questions we have. We have a full team for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the report, and thank you for being here tonight to the full team. Are there any questions from board members? Okay, I know there are questions from board members. Who's going first? Go ahead, Frank. Thank you.
There's a couple differences between the different options. One is the modulars would be available 1 year earlier, and that's because the construction times are different?
That is correct.
The other is that all of these charts really only show 5 years of budget. And I believe I know, but why don't I have the expert to tell us why that is?
Because I use these charts compared to our 5-year projections that were presented in December.
So 5 years out is really the only numbers we have real visibility to, is it?
Right. We're still dealing with a lot of variables that going out in even another year, I have too many unknown variables.
So that brings up with the building, we use a 10-year payback period, but we only have visibility for 5 years, and that's something that I think we have to keep understanding.
Right. I mean, it's a difference in cost between the $5.7 million and $1.1 million to build the modulars.
Because I believe if we use the same numbers of 5-year build out for the two, you would add probably another $2,000 to tuition, which would obviously be difficult for anybody to be able to afford.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions? Ms. Sternweiler?
I have a couple of questions. Just since we first started looking at all this, it seems like several things had changed, and I just want to get them all clear. So one of the things was originally the modular units originally looked very appealing because they had resale value. They had like a residual value. If we decided that, you know, several years from now we wanted to repurpose them, we wanted to build, and that they would have a value. Now we found out that they do not, correct?
The way it was explained to me is it's like buying a new car. So in 5 years, what is the value of that car going to be? Some people would take care of it and it would look the same today as it does 5 years from now. He said, then there's some residual value. But there's a dismantling fee because you have to take apart the units if we either sell them back to the modular company or we could sell them outright to another district. There's a dismantling fee. So he said there may be a slight profit in 5 years if the units are well maintained. He said if you go down the road and it's 10 years later, what is the value of a 10-year-old item? He said because we do sell 10-year-old units, but we have to rehab them. So it's pretty extensive.
So I guess I have a couple questions in that. So on the one idea of having kind of the notion that there's a value in it, in my mind is kind of out of the window because it's kind of a wash. If we, the notion that okay, we could try it out and then build a permanent, it's not going to happen. It wouldn't make sense.
Correct.
The next question would be the longevity. I mean, we take care of our buildings. We in our district, we have a history of taking care of our buildings. Realistically, do we know what the lifespan of one of these buildings versus a real building? If we build something, what's the difference in lifespan?
Again, it goes back to the maintenance of the unit, the weather, the wear and tear on it. But when I looked at buying a used unit, they were selling me a 14-year-old modular unit for half the price of a new one. So they can last 14, he said they could last 20 years. But it's all depends on the weather, the circumstances of the buildings. And you're right, we do maintain our buildings, but there is some wear and tear.
We do. The reason I bring it up, and I just want to throw this out there, if that's okay, is my thoughts, because I've had many thoughts on this. One of the things that concerns me is I've always believed in investing money very wisely, and if you're going to spend money on something, that it should be something that that maintains its value and that it's worth spending. If you're going to do it right the first time, do it right the first time. That you don't throw good money after bad. So I want to make sure if I realize looking at the numbers, it's really scary. Building looks very scary to me, and the whole notion of dipping down, that looks almost impossible to me. But on the flip side, the notion of spending a whole bunch of money on something that may not have longevity is also very wasteful to me, and that is where my concern lies. So I just wanted to express that.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments, thoughts? Go ahead.
I just want to clarify in both of the administration's recommendations, it's cost neutral, meaning it wouldn't cost District 39 anything.
Right.
It would all be paid through.
That's correct.
So
keeping it away from taxpayers.
Right. So referring back to when we say building looks very scary or what, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I guess when I look at it, the way I view it is that ultimately the reality is that it all comes out of ultimately it all comes out of taxpayers in one way or another. I mean, whether it's long-term or short-term, it's all our taxpayers that are going to be paying for it. So it just is a matter of how we decide that the money is best spent, and that's my concern. Does that make sense?
I think what you're saying is that because you're a taxpayer and you're paying tuition, you're a community member, but the tax bill...
Well, and because we can't see past 5 years, the risk of what happens if something changes and the burden of paying for it suddenly becomes our burden as a school board. What if they say we have to pay for the for a full-time
If they say that, we have to anyway, and it might
Right.
be nice to have building space in place.
No, no.
But you're saying we're creating
I'm
risk
saying
by
we're
doing
creating
this?
risk.
Yeah.
We're creating risk. So, I mean, one
To the
way or the other,
taxpayer.
we're creating the risk.
Yep.
So,
Can I do a follow-up point to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ellen's point. So, yeah, I have the same concern, and I think, I guess a couple things. This is a great report, by the way. Lots of work went into it. Thank you, which I do appreciate. And I think you entertained all of the iterations that we could possibly come up with here. Thank you. But I have more. No, I'm kidding. No, I have a level of discomfort with sort of changing all our elementary buildings for this purpose and spending the money just for this purpose, because I have a sense now, having been on the board for a year, of how big an undertaking it is to have the architects come out and have the builders, whatever, all the management, all this. Putting together these projects. So I wonder if, I like the modulars because I feel like that gives us flexibility to adjust to changing student populations or the needs of particular schools. Because I recall, and this is the thing that sticks in my head, I recall that when one of the architects did a presentation of where we would actually spend the money, right, which schools, that certain schools require more work than others. And anyway, so where I'm going is I think that the modulars would be pretty evenly spread out between the elementary schools. And if we go down this road of, hey, let's, fix it all up for $6 million, we'd be spending half of the money in one school and the other half in the other three schools, and go down a road that maybe we shouldn't go down or don't want to go down. And anyway, so that's why I'm more on the side of the modulars, and I figured I'd throw it out there.
Hang on just a second. Frank had a follow-up, I think, and then we'll come back to you.
The payback period on the modules being 5 years means that at the end of 5 years, if we threw them away, there would have been no budget impact. So the worrying about the 14 years, anything after 5 years is an opportunity to have flexibility, but it's been, back to the car thing, the car has been fully paid for at the end of 5 years. So the risk is, if in less than 5 years we decide not to go that route and go a different route, there's some percentage, by definition, some percentage of only $1 million. The risk on the building is, if we decide for whatever reason that that's not the right option, it's a risk of 10 years on $5 to $8 million. So that's why the modulars, I think, give us more flexibility and really don't put as much money at risk.
Okay. Ms. Schneider-Phipps.
So I just want to back us up for a second, right, and take a look at where we've been. The community has wanted all-day kindergarten for more than 30 years. We haven't been able to figure out how to get there. This is the first time, I believe, in District 39 history, in the 30 years of these discussions, that we have some viable options which are tax neutral. They're not perfect, right? None of the options are perfect, but they're a compromise. They are a path to providing all-day kindergarten, which excites me, because whether you want it or not, many districts in the state have it.
89%.
Thank you, Tracy. Many of our feeder districts have it. And now we have a plan where we can provide it. So I think that's a moment to pause and celebrate. I celebrate it. The other competing interest here, so there's a competing interest of wanting to provide it. And then there's the community, part of the community that feels very strongly about keeping our fiscal house tight and in order and not increasing a burden on the taxpayer. District 39 has had a historic precedent of fiscal conservatism. And it's also part of that is that we say the user pays, if it just benefits a user, the user pays. Music fees, iPad, lunch, buses.
We share in a lot of those fees.
Okay, so, but there's a philosophy that we go heavy on the fees. So I just want to say that I really agree with Ellen's point about I believe that you invest in modulars, and then all of a sudden, 5 years, 10 years later, you have to start all over, right, with and trying to devise another cost-neutral plan. We have one now, and when I think about risk, our demographics are pretty stable. I don't feel like we have a big risk. We have the surveys that say the parents want this, and that they would be willing to pay the number that we're saying is estimating for the buildings. I just can't imagine. I feel like I hear that 5-year payback feels more comfortable, but in the life of a school district, we're talking long term, and waiting 1 more year when we've waited 30 isn't such a big deal. So again, it's not a perfect solution, but it is a compromise, and I'm in support of building.
Okay, hang on just a second. I saw Ms. Schaff next.
I'm thinking about what you said about modulars, and I'm thinking about the risks associated with that. To me, it seems a little less risky in that it's a 5-year payback. It's we're committing future boards maybe to a 5-year horizon on kindergarten enrichment rather than a 10-year horizon if we were building buildings. It's a lower cost to start out, and in a time period where we have a lot of demand for our capital. We're going to talk about other things later on tonight too. We have a lot of demand for our capital. Modulars seem to me to be sort of, as you started out saying, a middle of the road kind of a way to get to kindergarten or kindergarten enrichment, leading to all-day kindergarten. And we can continue beyond 5 years and offer all-day kindergarten once the modulars are paid for in 5 years. But the risk to me is sort of then you're stuck, kind of like what you just said, with modulars. And when do we go inside of our buildings again, or are we creating a modular look for all of our buildings for the next 20 years? You know, what does that look like? And to me, that's kind of a big risk. And that's why I'd love to build, but I'm a little worried about committing all of that capital to building when we have a lot of other competition for our capital in the future. So I'm a little on the fence still, I have to say.
I have 2 more big questions, and I'm not convinced. I thought I was convinced of modulars. I really was completely convinced of modulars, and then we sent out the second survey, and I was really surprised by it. And I think what I keep wondering is, I actually keep wondering, I think it was something that Tracy said at one point, I keep wondering whether it would have been different if we had asked a different question or a different way. I looked at the numbers, and I wonder if the perception, there's a lot in, it seems like it may be a little, but I actually think it's a lot. The difference between, what are the numbers, 4,145 and what was the other number, the 5,325. That's a big difference. That's a big number difference. It sounds different. I mean, we didn't ask what would the difference be. Would you feel more comfortable having a modular unit if you were paying only $4,000? I mean, we didn't play with the numbers in any way when we sent that survey out. And so people were responding to the fact that we were basically saying incrementally, okay, if we basically spent just a little bit less and did it 1 year sooner, would you like modulars instead of a building? And in some ways I'm like, I'd rather have a building if that's all I'm getting for, that little. If it's only $1,000, like, might as well just build and wait a year. I mean, that it's kind of like, you know, I think maybe I just wonder if it's the perception of what you get for what you're giving up. If that's where the fall was, if, you know, because I think, and I can't speak for everyone else, I was super surprised. I thought everyone was gonna be like, oh, a year earlier, like, we were all begging to have this, you know, we've been waiting for 30 years, like, let's get it as soon as we can. I want it tomorrow. You found a way, great, and that's not what we got. So that was one piece of it. And then the other question that I have, it's a true question, is if we build, what are we missing now in all of our buildings that we would get? What else are we missing? I mean, no, what could we put into these new spaces? Like, if kindergarten, we're building, you know, these, what, 1 room, 2 rooms in these, you know, if we build, what can we put in, like, what's lacking in these buildings? Are these buildings, you know, still overflowing? Do we need other things in those spaces? So it's just for like as John said, it's just for kindergarten. We're just looking at at filling it with kindergarten, right? If we build.
So budgetary-wise, all of our future plans are built into those scenarios. Okay, so all the phase 2, phase 3 at High Crest, it's already built in and locked in. So financially, it's not going to be a budget.
No,
but you're saying, like,
I'm just saying, like, other ways to utilize that, like, you know.
Well, I think this might get back to what John was saying earlier. Like when we had the architects look at all 4 schools, we know that special education is consumed.
That's what I was asking.
Okay, got it.
That's what I'm getting at.
Got
like,
it.
What
special education has consumed a lot of the classroom space, which makes it, there's less flexibility. So for example, at Mackenzie, there would be, the addition would be for special education, so we can reclaim kindergarten classroom space that's being used elsewhere. So that, and it varies from school to school. You know, Harper would be the other school that gets an addition because they are already, they have no room. So they need extra space for special education that's also claiming classroom space, and they need kindergarten classrooms. So, but what we built into the formula that you have here is not the whole package. The district is not charging, they are charging 2 classrooms per school. Ramona is the only school that just gets 2 nothing else, because we just had an addition there. It's a real simple add-on. We took the Ramona dollars, 2 classrooms, and we did that for all 4 schools. So the district is consuming on its own to pay for the other spaces that are, and mostly it's for special education.
What's that added price tag on top of the 5.7 million?
2, 3, just under 3 million.
But that's already that's already been accounted for.
It is factored in those charts. Yes, it's already factored, right.
So you factored not only for kindergarten, but for all the other
We
stuff too.
factored all of it in there, correct.
Which is, so we're solving a lot of other problems
That's
in our
exactly
schools.
right. Through construction, we are. Through modulars, we are not.
Okay, Frank.
Oh,
Yeah, I keep coming back to the payback period. The concern I have is we have an interest in moving toward having full-day kindergarten. And we have an interest on a fiscal standpoint of being budget neutral. If we do the route of building, we don't become budget neutral until year 10. So either in year 10, we wait until then to do full-day kindergarten, which I don't think is on anybody's wish list, or we're not actually signing up to a plan to be budget neutral. And that's my concern. I mean, it's possible that we end up going till year 5 on the modulars. If we're off by $200,000 or so a year. If we don't go to year 10, and we don't want to wait that long, we're off by $500,000 for every year short of year 10 if we build in terms of being budget neutral. So we could decide for other reasons that building is more appropriate, but it's not budget neutral unless we really thought we were going to wait 10 years, and I don't think anybody thinks that that's likely, or certainly no one thinks that that's desirable.
Okay. Other thoughts? Ms. Kearney?
I was originally a fan of the flexible ones. Yes, thank you. The modular. That was called mobile. Anyway, bottom line is, it's as simple as for me is we found a compromise with the ask of 30 years. I would say 10 heavily, but yes, they've been asking forever. I think the environment has changed since we've continued to say no, primarily based on the fact that 89% of Illinois schools offer full-day kindergarten. And we use that other schools, for examples, many times here as excuses to do things. So to stay a little bit on trend and even bring it to our 6 feeder districts into New Trier, they all offer full-day kindergarten. We're not offering full-day kindergarten because we can't afford to offer full-day kindergarten, but we came to a compromise with enrichment. Again, we haven't offered anything because we haven't voted yet, but we asked in the survey, in the second, people are willing to spend $6,500. I personally would not be willing to spend $6,500, but the people have spoken, they have, and that's building buildings, and that's what I'd be for at this point.
I'm sorry, I have one question of administrators. In the surveys, did we have any hint at a distribution among elementary schools for which would like it more, et cetera?
We actually do. The breakdown by elementary, you can see there by build classrooms or build modular units, and there was a percentage breakdown based on the 4 elementaries. This is the results of the survey. So these are of the respondents that we referred to earlier in the report.
So this is good information, and thank you. Slightly different question, though, too, which is, we had X number, whatever was 400 or something, people say yes, that we would be willing to pay $6,500 for enrichment. Was there any breakdown between different schools there? For instance, you can imagine that we get, a huge number of people in school A saying yes and nobody in school B, and then we run into trouble with capacity issues.
We can find that N for you for each of the schools. I think that's what you're asking for. Yeah, we definitely have that information.
Okay, so it'd be N for each school, and then the percentage yes, no, at $6,500 or whichever, all the levels, I guess.
This is from the second survey. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was my question. Sorry, it only involved one administrator. Ms. Schneider-Fabes.
I'm just the messenger. They did the work.
So your point about the 5-year tenure, so when I'm saying we're going to amortize the cost over 10 years, I mean 10 years. I don't mean 5 years. I think that we are saying we are going to spread it out over 10 years. And really, yes, we would all love to provide all-day kindergarten tomorrow, but this is the compromise. And 10 years over the life of a district feels really long, but it's not. And we're not building it for one cohort of children or 4 cohorts of children. We're building it for the future of the district.
So just to be clear on that, you're saying that if you build the classrooms, that your assumption is that we won't go to full-day kindergarten for 10 years? Because you can't charge, for enrichment you can charge, but not for full-day kindergarten.
I just want to address that a little bit because let's assume 10 years. In our projections, we assumed that the tuition was going to stay flat, and we're going to continue that, which means that for each year after the first year, whatever the CPI income is that we get from the community, you are consuming 3%, 2% more. By the time you get to 10 years, you are already 20% into owning a full-day kindergarten program. And then immediately the tuition goes down in the year 11 significantly because of the construction costs, and you're stepping very quickly into full-day kindergarten.
That wasn't my
Very quickly. I'm just saying that we're moving towards full-day kindergarten in year 2. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, no, but my point was we can charge for enrichment. Yes. And we can talk about what level we charge for. When it's full-day kindergarten, that's part of the regular program. So in order to have a 10-year payback, we would have to have 10 years of enrichment before we could do full-day kindergarten. And my point is, I don't know if that's really what the community wants, what the board wants, but it's also unlikely that for 10 years we would maintain that discipline.
Okay.
I kind of
Ms.
feel,
Schneff.
I agree with you that it's 10 years seems like a really long horizon. I agree with you. Yes, this is a compromise, but it's also only what we can say as a board. It's our intent that we will offer kindergarten enrichment for 10 years so that we can cover our construction costs. In 5 years or 6 or 8 years down the road, another board might say, okay, we've got enough capital, we're going to stop this, we're going to step right now into kindergarten. And we have no control over that decision, but we can only go into this decision, the financial decision, with the information that we have and that we're willing to make. And it may change in the future, but we can't control that.
Okay, Mr. Cesarati.
Yeah, I have a question for the administrator. So is there, what's the risk that the state would just tell us to have full-day kindergarten in the next 10 years? Do we know? They like their unfunded mandates.
I just don't see it coming right now for two reasons. One is 89% of the districts are already doing it. Two, it's an unfunded mandate. Three, the state has a lot of other issues to look at. And I've seen nothing proposed, nothing. But that is a risk. That could happen. And because kindergarten's not even required right now, going from 0 to 100 is a big jump.
Yeah, no, I wanted your sense. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ray.
So, as a reminder, we're not voting on this tonight at all, and so this discussion will continue no matter what. But go ahead, Ms. Kearney.
I just want to say, we've worked really hard to come to this compromise. We found a really nice one that cost the district, for the most part, $0 to get this accomplished. I'd hate to see nitty-gritty get in the way of that. I'd like to see a compromise here.
Yeah, I have a question. So, I mean, is this something, when are we planning to vote on this, Mark? And do we, because I think I feel like we beat this to death.
So,
I do. The administrators need a decision from us.
Yeah, so we can go to vote whenever we want, although I don't feel like we're ready to vote tonight. So, but if there's a desire to get to a place where we can give guidance next month, we could do that.
I did ask that question at the Finance Committee meeting, and Gail had an answer for us working backwards from a timeline, and that was, well, but it would, so.
Construction is going to take about 18 months for the actual construction.
But
it's,
okay.
no, of building
okay.
additions.
All right.
The modulars is 6 months for construction. But there's 6 months of planning that would go into developing the designs and the feasibility and the locations on each building.
So for either option, somewhere early fall is when we'd have to make a decision to stay on a timeline.
Correct. If we want it for the fall of 2020.
Okay. Or 2019 for
modulars.
Okay.
Yep.
You probably have to go sooner almost because you need more than 6 months of, June. Yeah, I think you do because you have to have all that planning period. It's more than 6 months.
I've heard a feeling that we'd like to go.
Yeah, I think
many of the
that's
board
right.
members would like to go to vote in June.
Okay. We can, I'll discuss that, but I think we could put that on the agenda for June. So I think the good news is that, it sounds like, as it's been pointed out, we're moving to something that has not been done here. As a matter of fact, I had a friend who is my age who said that it was discussed when she was in school, and I'm going to admit that's more than 30 years. So somewhere between 10 years and more than 30 years. So I think that's pretty exciting. Thank you for the discussion tonight. Thank you all for all of the work that's making this possible. I should point out we're all smiling up here about this possibility, but the truth is you're doing the work that's making it possible. So thank you. And that takes us to our next item, annual business.
Yes, the first one is Illinois prevailing wages. This is an annual thing. The Illinois Department of Labor establishes the prevailing rate of wages. Each public body is required to adopt, publicly post, and provide all construction contracts a copy of those prevailing wages. Each year, New Trier High School coordinates this prevailing wage process throughout the township. Gail, is there anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add on that.
Okay, any comments from board members? Go ahead.
I'm rolling with it. Just letting you know, Mark, or Mr. Steen, I'd like that prevailing wage to be pulled from the consent agenda.
Okay.
So we can each individually vote on it. Thank you.
Anything
you
else?
Want me to say why?
If you'd like, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
As I said in committee, just by fact that we're offered the opportunity to vote whether to adopt prevailing wage or not implies that I have a choice in that matter, and I choose no, pretty much based on the fact I don't like the level of floor. It gives us a high floor publicly as far as going out and competitively bidding for jobs. In other words, I think it's the reason our construction costs so much. And that's not something that is a burden in the private sector. I would have to pay those wages for my own home. So anyway, I will be voting a no vote, but anyway, I want it off the consent agenda.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, we will do that, and thank you for the explanation. Any other comments on that? Great. Moving on.
Next, we're at the fiscal year 2019 tentative budget. In order to abide by truth in taxation statutes, it's necessary for the board to adopt a tentative budget. The budget is required to approve and publicly display a tentative budget 30 days prior to adopting the actual final budget. We're also required to hold a budget hearing prior to final adoption, and the notice for the August public hearing will be published on May 24th. Gail Buscemi has this report.
Thank you. Tonight we are presenting District 39's fiscal year 2019 tentative budget. In March, the non-operating funds were presented, and in April, a draft of the operating funds was shared with the community. There have been a few changes in the operating fund budgets from the April presentation, resulting in an additional deficit of $25,000. Our operating funds make up 97.8% of the total budget. You will note that our expenditures exceed our revenues by almost $2.9 million. This is due to one-time planned construction projects in fiscal year 19 of $4.6 million. Our anticipated fund balance at June 30th, 2019 is estimated $32.6 million, as reflected on this slide. I apologize for the alignment. Our non-operating funds make up 2.2% of the total budget. As you can see, our expenditures exceed revenues by slightly over $64,000 after debt service payments. This deficit is due to the $200,000 abatement in the debt service fund in order to give back to our community. Our anticipated fund balance at June 30th, 2019 is estimated at $1.4 million. The fund balance for all funds is anticipated to be $34 million at June 30th, 2019. This represents an expenditure to fund balance ratio of 55.7% in the operating funds. As additional information is received in the next few months, the final budget will be adjusted before a public hearing in August. After approval tonight, the budget information will be available on the district's website and a hard copy at the district office for public review. In addition, there will be a publication of notice of public hearing on Monday, August 27th, 2018. Are there any questions?
Any questions from board members? Seeing none, let's move on.
I have a comment, actually.
Oh, okay.
By approving this tonight, I just want to make clear that bring up again that we promised in December that we'd be doing a deeper dive into our expense review. And I don't love the fact that this draft is on the table before we've completed that. It's May. I'd like to speed up, or somehow before we get to August, when the final budget gets here, at least have something to present to the community, some conclusions that have been made as a result of our expense review.
Okay, I think, so the expense review, as you know, is ongoing and has been done in the Finance Committee as a general
Right,
rule.
we've gotten through about
So I
6
think
items.
The way, yeah, we've done 6, so I don't know how many there are left to go, but I suspect it's a lot. Yeah, so logistically, I think that's going to be difficult to do. Are there, maybe here's a way to do it. Are there areas that you would like to prioritize?
Administrator benefits.
Okay. Yeah, I think
And
that.
any benefit, part of the benefit package, which is why I brought that up. I mean, 84% of our expenses are tied to salaries and benefits. So I think that's why I continue to bring that up. I think that's a big hit. But I also, I'd also like to suggest maybe we need to meet more often as far as this goes. Because when we say that we're going to do a deeper dive into our expenses, at least that implies to me that we're going to do that ahead of, actually coming to some conclusion or making a statement about it before we go on and on approving budgets.
Right.
So that's just what I would appreciate.
Okay, well, I think the first step is so administrator benefits is obviously one prioritization. If you or other board members have items that you would like prioritized so that we can make sure we get to it before the August budget cycle, please let the administration know, and then we'll have to figure out if there's any way that we can do any other acceleration. Fair enough?
I think so.
Okay, thanks. Anything else on this? Great. Next up is WICSI tentative budget.
Yes, District 39 continues to serve as the fiscal agent for the special education cooperative known as WICSI. That includes District 39 and District 37 Avoca. The State Board of Education requires that the WICSI keep separate accounting records, and we follow the same budget guidelines that are required of all schools, and District 39 continues to be the fiscal agent monitoring this. Gail Buscemi has this report.
Thank you. What I did was I presented the budget summary here, and this is basically a flow-through entity with money coming in from our IDA grants and flowing out to District 39 and Avoca 37 for their respective portion of the funds. As you see on this slide, this is a balanced budget. So we get our revenues in, and we're responsible for paying for the audit and for publication notices. Other than that, the funds flow right out to the member districts.
Great. Board members, any questions on that? Oh, sorry, did you have another?
And then I just wanted to show you where we are in the budget development calendar. So this is what we presented in January, and we're moving towards the end of the process with your approval tonight and the announcement of the public hearing on August 7th, on August 27th. Once you approve the budget in August, that's when it will be submitted to the Regional Office of Education, the Illinois State Board of Education, and the county clerk, and that all has to be completed prior to September 30th. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Okay. Great. Thank you very much for both of those reports. Budget resolutions?
Yes, we have 3 budget resolutions this evening, and they're tied to our tentative budget. And Gail Buscemi will explain each of these 3 resolutions.
One of the first resolutions is our capital projects resolution. And what we're doing here is we're using the capital projects fund so that we eliminate fluctuations in the O&M fund expenditures due to one-time projects for large dollar amounts. This resolution will allow us to use the capital projects fund to pay for construction costs for approved bids of $4.5 million. Funds will be transferred from the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Capital Projects Fund as funds are expended. The second resolution is for an interfund loan. And what this is a short-term interfund loan from the Education Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund. This loan permits timely payment of construction-related expenses for Highcrest Middle School. The district receives tax levy receipts twice a year in July and then February, March timeframe. Construction starts in June and will be substantially complete by the end of December. This short-term loan is necessary to maintain adequate cash flow and fund balances. The resolution indicates that loan will not exceed $2.5 million and will be repaid in fiscal year 19. And then the last one is for a permanent transfer, and that is reflected in the tentative annual budget for fiscal year 2019. District 39 plans to permanently transfer $750,000 from the Education Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund for fiscal year 19 to help fund approved construction projects. Pursuant to Section 17.2A of the School Code, the school district by resolution may authorize the treasurer to make permanent interfund transfers. In keeping with the district's due diligence policy, a public hearing will be held and notice of such hearing will be published in the newspaper prior to the public hearing in August 2018. Are there any questions?
Any questions from board members? Seeing none, let's move on.
We're going to board policy review. The first reading of revised policies are presented for you this evening. These are the last of the first read policies for this school year, and Dr. Glowacki has the report.
I just want to point out that we're recommending the deletion of policy 6:341, which is called research, as well as 6:342, equal educational opportunity. The ideas behind those policies are now incorporated into policies within Section 7.
Okay, board members, any questions? Yeah, go ahead. Your mic's not on.
Sorry. So for policy 6340, when we're talking about student testing and assessment, I suggest for consideration a number 5, which means that we would do testing and assessment when it impacts the classroom, student achievement, right? That we would basically want this data to be used to impact kind of teaching and learning in the classroom that year. You don't understand?
Yeah, Alice Schaff had a similar comment, so we can pull these together.
Can I just explain to Tracy, please? Yeah, what do you? So what I'm saying is, when I look at the 4 bullet points, nothing about these say that the test that we're giving kids informs instruction. I don't think kids should be taking standardized tests for the purposes of just ranking our district amongst its peers. It needs to be used by teachers in the classroom to help improve instruction.
Yeah, it kind of says that in the summary paragraph.
yeah,
Alice pointed this out, exactly the same
I
thing.
kind of said the same thing. In number 1, it says administer state assessments, and then it says and the whole rest of that sentence is really all the other testing. So I had suggested we put that in a number 5, yeah. And then the other things just apply, the 2, 3, and 4 apply just to state testing, I guess.
Okay, other comments or, yep, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead first. Okay, one of these, and I can't remember which one it was because I sent it to Ray, but I thought we should, where we listed out what we were testing students for, we should add growth in that.
Same thing.
Yeah. Oh, there
It's
it is.
6.280. It says academic achievement in the second line, reporting academic achievement, and then I said growth.
And growth.
Thank you.
Same exact thing.
Yeah.
Any other comments on that?
Yeah.
You go ahead.
At the end of that one, instruction, it's just that last sentence. It says, should a grade change be made, the administrator making the change must sign the change record. And my question is, in what situation, why do we have that sentence there? What situation would precipitate a grade change. It just seemed like it was kind of stuck in there, kind of hanging out there at the end.
So there is some legal precedent there that indicates if an administrator is going to make a change to a grade, they are the ones that have to go on record for making that change.
So I would maybe add that, you know, should it be necessitate, like the word necessitated, you know, if needed, like there's something missing from that. It's kind of, I had grammatical things I'll send to you. You know how much I love. In the instruction, the next 6290, I wanted to know if we could add just a parent and caregiver, parent/caregiver interest in this, and then it's in the under philosophy. I actually kind of rewrote the whole philosophy thing. I'll send it to you, and then you can send it to the rest of the board for their thoughts on this. I think this whole paragraph just kept going back and forth between being very personal and then being more about students in general, and I think it should be about students in general. It shouldn't be about your child, it should be students. And so if you're referring to, you know, parent/caregiver interest in student schoolwork, and I'll send you the rewrites for that. It just was kind of a rewrite of the way the language was reading.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Sternweiler?
I'll send it on.
Okay. Mr. Panzica, did you have something?
I just missed, so 340 is also removed from the consent agenda, or the comments are?
For first read, we don't have to remove any of them.
All
right? So this is all just first read.
Okay.
We can approve them on first
Wait,
read.
why are you pointing at me?
Because he was asking about taking out of consent agenda, but then I realized what the question was.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, you know, hey, if we're going to remove consent agenda, that's... Any other comments on the policies? Okay, let me just remind board members for our process, if you have things that you want to change, if you have rewrites, suggestions, whatever, please get them to the administration this week. And then if they're significant and you want to send them to us early for consideration before second read, that probably will help out. All right. That takes us through to the end of board policy review and brings us to the second opportunity for public comments. Is there anybody who would like to make a public comment at this time? Come forward, please state your name and the community in which you live, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Yes, please.
My name is Greg Lassond, live here in Wilmette. I have 2 daughters in New Trier and 1 at Central. First, I applaud the efforts of the board to constantly move the school system forward. After listening to the comments tonight, I would make a couple points. One is that we should take a look at what the state of Illinois is, what the enrollment history through the district, and the fact that it's varied so much, and that it's varied with the economy here in Illinois. If you take a look back, I think it is back in 1970, New Trier was up to 6,500. It's now somewhere around 4,000 or 5,000. It swings drastically. And if you look at the history, I just Googled it on my phone for all the districts. It varies significantly by up to 20%. So when you start taking a look at these investments, whether they're long-term, short-term, you can't just look at what the payback is based on your assumptions of the current enrollment and the number of people that are paying taxes in Wilmette. There's a lot of other things that are going on. We all know what the condition of Illinois is, and there are going to be taxes from other being required for other services and other commitments that we've made. So, you know, I would say sometimes you have to look and say, particularly with the modular versus the fixed buildings, there's a benefit to the option. And things can change very quickly within 5 years. And the number of people that you're trying to fit into the schools now could be drastically different. And so the fact that you, with a modular situation, that you can add as you go or make adjustments is a benefit. Yeah, I think I'm almost done anyway. So I just say I've been running businesses, turning around businesses for 30 years, and the biggest issue that most companies make is they continue to go on this trend, assuming that the market's going to keep going up and they can't sell enough product, and they don't see what's going to happen going forward. And all of a sudden, they've made these commitments, and the people that are left are the ones that have to support them. So we should just be wary of the current situation in the state, the fact that there's still a net decline in the population, and that it's going to have a long-term effect on our funding and what we should be spending on.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from the audience at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our action items. And first we'll ask, are there any items that should be removed from the consent agenda?
I have a few items I'd like removed from the consent agenda, please.
Okay.
Illinois prevailing wage. I'll go in order, I'm sorry. Approve the administrator's 18-19 contractual salary increases. And
So
number
that's number
9.
3?
Yeah, that
okay.
was number 3. Number 9, I already said, but that's Illinois prevailing wage resolution. And then number 10, 18 non-union employee benefits, please.
Okay. We will remove those from the consent agenda and vote on them separately. Any other items? No problem. Great. May I have a motion to proceed, Mr. Panzica?
I move to approve the personnel report dated May 21st, 2018. I move to approve the appointment of 2018-19 Wilmette Junior High School Assistant Principal. I move to adopt the fiscal 19 tentative budget as contained in this report for immediate public display, and further, I move to approve the publication of notice of a public hearing on the tentative budget to be held at 7 p.m. prior to commencing the regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting on Monday, August 27, 2018. I move to approve the fiscal 19 Wilmette Community Special Education Agreement tentative budget and approve a public budget hearing. I move to approve the attached resolution authorizing accounting transfers from the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Capital Budgets Fund, and I move to approve the attached resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund, and I move to approve the hearings to discuss a permanent interfund transfer from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund, and further, I move to approve the publication of notice of a public hearing on the permanent interfund transfer to be held at the 7 p.m. prior to commencing the regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting on Monday, August 27, 2018. I move to approve as first reading revised Board of Education policies 6:280, grading and promotions, 6:290, homework, 6:340, student testing and assessment program, 6:341, research, and 6:342, equal education opportunities. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between April 24, 2018. Did I miss one?
Yep.
No, May 24th. Sorry, that's right.
You've got it.
Okay. That's right. Okay. I'm sorry. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between April 24, 2018 and May 21, 2018 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $600,893.37. O&M Fund, $200,322.69. Debt Services, $35,838.29. Transportation Fund, $176,328.21. Capital Projects, $46,845, for a total all funds of $1,060,227.56. I move to approve the manual checks issued between April 24, 2018 and May 21, 2018 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $349,333.43. O&M Fund, $3,832.12. Transportation Fund, $5,498.09, for a total all funds of $358,663.64.
Thank you. The motion has been made. Will someone second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. The motion carries. And now we will move on to action item 3. Are you ready? Yes. Okay. I'd like a motion to approve the administrator's 2018-2019 contractual salary increases.
I move to approve the administrator's 2018-2019 contractual salaries with aggregate increases at 3%.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any comments? Go
I
ahead.
do. I actually have a clarification. If I vote for this, approve these, I want to clarify that I'm approving the current 2018 administrator contracts. And should we hire a new administrator or be looking at that in a month or two, that my vote today is not approving that. And I'm just tying that into the discussion I want to have over administrator salaries and benefits. So back to my original question. If I vote yes to right now, I am not voting yes for administrator contracts moving forward.
You're
correct?
You're voting for exactly what's in the action item, right? So
Which is?
Do you want to read it again?
The salary increases.
Move to approve the administrator's 2018-2019 contractual salaries with aggregate increases at 3%.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask one more time. If a new administrator comes here in a month that we're going to hire, okay, obviously that administrator does not fall into this bucket.
Correct.
Thank you.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Any other discussion on this topic? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, the motion carries. And that brings us to action item number 9.
I move to adopt the attached resolution authorizing the adoption of the prevailing rate of wages for the state of Illinois effective May 21st, 2018.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any comment on this?
Made them before.
Yep, okay. Any other comments? Great, would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. And now that takes us to action item number 10.
I move to approve the 2018 non-union employee benefits.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any comments on this one?
my comments tie into the same one I had about administrator contracts. Voting yes today on the 18 non-union employee benefits. Should we hire a new person who would fall under this purview, let's say, just, am I tied to accepting?
In this case, you are for this year. Now, we don't have any, we're not aware of anybody resigning or.
But you never know.
There's a difference between salary and benefits.
Right.
Right.
So that's why.
If somebody did leave and then we did have to hire somebody, they would be under this umbrella.
Okay.
Which is different than salary.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
That's good to know. So me voting for this is acceptance of the non-union benefits that we haven't gone over yet that I would like to go over. I mean, moving forward when we talk about the expense deeper dive. So this is part of that whole expense review.
Right, but this is 2018
Correct.
benefits. Okay. Yep.
18,
we're fine.
19?
It's 18, 19.
Yes. So
Yep.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now I know how to vote.
Any other comments? Okay. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Great. And that takes us to the last action item, which is approving the appointment of the 2018-2019 Assistant Superintendent. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the appointment of Dr. Heather Glowacki as the 2018-2019 Assistant Superintendent.
And may I have a second?
A second.
Okay. Before Dr. Lechner has a bit to say, are there any comments from the board? Go ahead, Dr. Lechner.
Following the retirement of Dr. Denise Thrasher, I'm recommending Dr. Glowacki as the next Assistant Superintendent. Dr. Glowacki has a long history in District 39, over a 23-year career so far. Heather has served as a special education teacher, a special education coordinator, and assistant principal in 3 different schools, Central, Ramona, and Highcrest, principal of Ramona, administrator of human resources. And as we do for all of our assistant superintendents, they maintain their current position. She's not leaving her job, but she will have added responsibilities to fill in for the superintendent when needed.
Great. Any other comments? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. The motion carries. Congratulations, Dr. Glowacki. Are there any? That brings us to conference items. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Is there any good and welfare? I have a good and welfare. I just want to comment that, this is a time of year when we actually do a lot of changes, hiring new assistant principals, hiring new assistant superintendents, and also celebrating a lot of our administrators who are leaving us. It is a real pleasure to be able to sit here and have deep discussions about various issues, but to have incredible consensus on the quality of our administrators. I think that's a wonderful part of being on that board, and that speaks to all of the people in the back of the room, all of the folks up here, and the folks who aren't here today. So thank you all very much for all of your hard work and service. I think that's a great good and welfare in my opinion. So, yes, one more.
Yes. I wanted to thank the support of the technical staff. Earlier this month, there was a technology forum. I don't have the right title for it. That was held at New Trier, and I was able to attend and interacted with numerous representatives from District 39, and I think it was very worthwhile. And they put a lot of work into it, and there are a lot of really interesting activities. So I'm glad of the support that the district was able to give that program, and I don't remember the name of it, unfortunately, but it was a technology review at the New Trier campus.
Thank you very much. Any other good and welfare? Okay, seeing none, I would like a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss safety and security, collective bargaining, and specific personnel.
I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss safety and security, collective bargaining, and specific personnel.
May I have a second?
Second.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes, we are adjourned. The time is 9 o'clock. Thank you very much.